EVs, electric vehicles. So that's today's topic. So full disclosure, currently I don't own an EV vehicle,
That makes two of us.
but I will say this. The manufacturers have really stepped up their game with the EV vehicles. I mean, we see new cars coming out from Porsche, BMW,
Yeah, some nice ones.
even Jeep.
Mhm.
You know, we love our Jeeps. They came out with a full EV Jeep Wrangler, so that's real nice. So today I'd like to ask you a couple of questions regarding the EVs, electric vehicles, and supply and demand. What does that currently look like now as far as electricity goes for these EV vehicles?
Supply of electricity
Yeah.
for charging.
Mm-hmm.
Well, today there's probably plenty of electricity for charging, but I think that's going to change in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in your opinion, do you think the infrastructure is there to be able to keep up with, what the government's mandating by going to zero emissions in 15 years by 2035?
Well, I guess that's going to take a mixture in the fleet of a lot of electric type vehicles. But the question is, on the other side, the charging side, where's the generation of the electricity coming from? What is that? What is that fuel mix?
Mm-hmm.
Is it natural gas? Well, it looks like they want to sunset all that natural gas out. Got rid of coal.
That's right.
Here in California, San Onofre shut down. They didn't renew the permits for that, so that's being dismantled. Diablo Canyon is up for permit review, and I understand legislature is probably not going to renew halfway through the life of that nuclear facility, a renewal. And so that's going to shut down. So what's going to replace the generation of power? Well, wind, solar.
Okay.
Okay. And the only issue with that is it's not sunny 24 hours a day, and the wind doesn't blow 24/7. So
Right.
they're more intermittent.
Right.
And when they do generate, what do we do with the excess? Should be stored in batteries and reused in the grid. So that's not up and running. That's something that is being looked into for a longer term solution. So really, I think that here, especially here in California, we're going to be looking at more of the same brownouts turning into blackouts in the future. Can you imagine? Think about this. I learned that recently the sale of gas-powered lawnmowers has been banned, starting in what year? I don't remember. It's in the future.
Yeah, but that's here in our state.
It's here in our
California,
state,
yeah.
right? Okay, so not only are you going to be charging your electric vehicles at night, but you're probably also going to need to charge your lawnmower during the week if you want to. So there's going to be a lot of
There's going to be a lot of
demand.
strain and a lot of demand on that power grid.
A lot of demand.
Here living in California, we get hot summers.
Mm.
So here in California, we all experience where we have these rolling blackouts or brown days, right?
Mhm.
Where they could charge you up to 3 times the cost on your electric bill if you're running the air between, let's just say, 3 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Right.
And typically when everybody comes home
Well,
from
they
work,
term it a pricing event.
yeah, pricing event.
Yeah.
But when everybody comes home from work at 5
yeah,
o'clock,
4 to 9 p.m. is the pricing event.
yeah, what's going to happen if everybody, in the future, we're all driving these electric cars?
Well, if you can't turn on your AC unit to cool down the house because it got hot while you were at work, but you still got to plug in your car because you need to go back to work tomorrow, right?
That's right.
A little bit of a
Conundrum.
a little bit of an issue there, right?
Do we want to stay hot in the house or do we want to charge the car so we can get to work?
Or maybe you don't want to do either.
That's
because
right.
of the cost.
Right, you can't. Or it's such a strain on the current infrastructure that it's going to, power will be out. And then what happens when you have an electric vehicle? You're immobile, right? You can't charge the car. How do you get to work?
Stay home and stay safe.
That's right. Stay cool. So here's a term that we often hear in real estate, location, location, location,
Right.
right? We've
Sure.
all heard this.
Yeah.
So for people watching this or listening to this, does a does location affect the cost of electricity?
Well, sure it does. It just depends on, demand and supply. It's a
Mhm.
market, and, I would say that in other states, you've got far less cost per kilowatt hour, because there's less demand, but there's oversupply, and that oversupply can be sold transmitted out of state to other users
Right.
at a markup, of course,
Absolutely.
as it gets passed down the line.
Because typically in our state, what are we like 20 cents a kilowatt
Uh,
here? California and Hawaii, I think.
when it comes to figures,
I think
I
that's
have
what
to
it
look at
is.
notes for that.
Yeah. So I mean, I know people probably would take that in consideration,
Mhm.
when they're, looking into purchasing an EV,
Right,
right?
right.
Let's see what else. Currently, obviously we talked about is there enough electricity, but I mean, what do you see in the future when, like, state of California, our governor came out and said by 2035 he wants to ban all ICE engine new car
And ban the
sales.
purchase of new cars,
Correct. And I know General Motors,
internal combustion engines.
yeah, I know General Motors also came out and kind of had the same communication that by 2035 all their new vehicles, they want to go zero emissions as well. So, with just talking what we're talking about, I mean, they're going to have to really, build a better infrastructure when it comes to these power grids, not only in our state, but nationwide. What does that look like?
No, I don't think anybody really knows right now. Um, it's unfortunate that they're sunsetting the, nuclear option.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a very clean energy. Um, there are a lot of opponents to nuclear for various reasons. So, what is the solution? Well, I think natural gas is a great solution. It's very low, um, pollutant,
Hmm.
and, unfortunately, they're sunsetting those. So I think energy security is going to become a major issue in the next 20 years out west.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that, by far we will be energy secure. I always wondered, I would say for the last 30 years, I thought about, certain projects that we were involved in, a couple of mining projects down in Mexico that we were working on, and it was an energy security issue for running the operation, and there wasn't any. It wasn't reliable.
Mm.
And,
That hinders
uh,
production.
and my concern was, will that ever come here? Will we ever see that here in the US? And at the time, the answer always was, "No, we'll never see that here." Well, I've changed my mind on that. I think we will see that here.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
yeah, I just I don't have a lot of confidence in, people who are making the decisions, and because they're not taking everything into consideration, they're looking at it from a very narrow viewpoint, which is, I mean, very noble, to be environmentally conscious.
Right.
But I think also that millions of people are going to be affected negatively, if we move into that insecurity of energy reliability. Can you imagine you get home from work and you can't charge your electric car because there's a blackout
Yeah.
till 6 a.m.?
Yeah. It's gonna be very, very hard to deal with
Well,
if it comes to that.
we experienced that recently. We got home and it was, the fires were raging in Northern California, and it was affecting the grid, and our power was shut off for about 5 hours. And the sun was still up, so I didn't need to go and fire up the backup generator. Getting ready to, the sun was going down,
Right.
and the power came on.
Right.
So I said, "Oh, didn't have to do it." But um,
It's happening.
it's
It's
happening.
currently
We're
happening now.
moving. Moving in that direction, faster and faster. Um, I think that a lot of people are going to be very unhappy, probably in the next 10 years,
Yeah.
with this insecure energy issue that we're moving into. And the all electric, the everything electric, um, mode that we're going into is, I don't think it's sustainable unless we're able to come up with, some solid planning and solutions, for the power generation side of it, because it's all about charging.
Yeah,
And if you're not creating the energy, you're not generating the energy,
that's right.
you're not supplying the demand for the energy. So it's a supply demand issue.
Mhm.
They need to be balanced and equalized. And, hydroelectric is, a great solution, but there's only so much hydroelectric that we have. So we have a lot of mix
Mhm.
in there. I just don't think that we can focus just on solar and wind as the
Yeah,
solution.
we've seen what happened in Texas, right? When they went through that, snowstorm
Mhm.
and they had, a lot of stuff with wind generation and a lot of customers and individuals, they were without power, without heat. So, yeah, that's just one aspect of it, and I wrote a fun fact down here.
Mhm.
Our friend Matt Watson, with, Precious Metals Commodity Management, he's the founder.
He could give you some numbers, facts, and
Yeah,
figures right off the top of his head. I mean,
very,
he's
very
on it.
into all of this,
Mhm.
and one thing I took from him, he said we would need to grow the global power grid by 50% to charge the 2 billion EVs anticipated on the road by 2050. So he's saying by 50%, we're going to need to grow the global power grid.
So you could have another discussion about how much copper,
Yeah,
silver,
it's going to take.
lithium,
Right,
cobalt needs to be mined out of the earth
right.
to meet the, demand side as well as the supply side.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that's missed, a lot of things come out of the administration and the White House, and it's for the better. Obviously, it's for, going green and,
Mhm.
and saving our
Sure.
planet.
Sure, we're all in for that.
But they also have to have what you just said, the mining side. That needs to be able to be looked into a little bit more detailed than I think what they're pushing on
Well,
their
there's a big
agendas.
disconnect and a large lag of time from
Mhm.
identifying a project to producing metal, you know?
Oh,
So it's
absolutely.
about a 15-year lag. So better get on it now.
Right, right. Especially if they're want to ban the sale of the ICE engine, internal combustion engines by 2035. I mean, that's
Right.
15 years
Okay, well,
in our state.
okay, but your bicycle doesn't require an internal combustion engine, so you could still get around.
That's right. I'll ride that bike, whatever it
It's
takes.
good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks everybody for watching.
yeah.
Take care.